Hey there, saltwater angler, and welcome to the Lower Chesapeake Bay Fishing Report, bringing you the current fishing report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. Now, let's take a moment and learn who's making this show possible, and then we'll jump into the reports. Hilton's offshore charts. The days of heading out and blindly looking for good fishing areas are pretty much over. Don't waste time and money on fuel searching for fish. You need the most recent, highest resolution images to not only know where to go, but where not to go. The knowledge provided by today's technology is critical when planning an offshore fishing trip. So make the choice that professional captains all over the East Coast make and choose Hilton's Real-Time Navigator. The easy-to-use interface and excellent customer service will have you on the fish every time you go. Check them out at hiltonsoffshore.com. That's hiltonsoffshore.com. It's time we talked about catching some serious savings. Imagine harnessing the power of the sun to cut your energy bills and having a roof that's built to last. Convert Solar and Roofing specializes in top-notch solar installations and durable roofing solutions that stand up to the toughest elements. Their solar panels are designed to maximize efficiency, and their roofs are built with premium materials to ensure long-lasting protection. Whether you're out on the water or at home, their expert team ensures you're covered. As fellow anglers in the Lower Chesapeake Bay, the team at Convert Solar and Roofing cares about both sustainable living and sustainable fishing. So reel in those savings today and visit www.convert-solar.com or call 757-44-SOLAR. Make your energy and roof as reliable as your favorite fishing lure. Call Convert Solar and Roofing today. Listen up. AFTCO has a promotional gift for all Great Days Outdoors Podcast Network listeners. They're now offering a camo sunglasses cleaner cloth with any purchase of AFTCO products. For those cold, wet, or windy days, I especially enjoy my weatherproof fabric barricade jacket, as well as my helm insulated fishing gloves. All you got to do to get your coupon code is text LCBFR to 779-345-2918. You'll get subscribed to our email list, and we'll send you the promo code via email. All right, y'all, welcome to this week's show, part of the Great Days Outdoors Podcast Network. I'm your host, Luke Barton, and each week we're going to be talking with local charter guides to learn about what's biting in our local waters and try to gain some useful insights from their expertise. We encourage every angler listening to this show to do their part in sustainable fishing practices, helping to keep this amazing fishery we have healthy and thriving for generations to come. While winter in the Lower Chesapeake can make for some tough fishing conditions, there's still plenty of trophies to go out there and target. So, time for the report. Let's jump on in and find out what's been biting. All right, guys. Well, it is New Year's Eve, and what better thing to talk about than fresh local seafood? Excited to talk to one of our sponsors, Sam Russ Seafood, and have Robbie Edmonds back on the show. Welcome back. How you been?
Good. I appreciate you having me back. Just about through the holiday season here, so we'll try and get through, sell some more bluefin, and make it to 2025. So.
I can't believe we're saying 2025. I mean, it feels like it was just yesterday. It was, Y2K, our grandpa, the late Paw Paw, the one that really made Sam Rust what it is today, was all worried about the computer turning over, and then you blink an eye and it's 25 years later, and here we are.
It's pretty wild, that's for sure.
Yep. So you mentioned it's year end, a holiday season. What are you guys seeing fly off the shelves right now?
So this time of year, a lot of shrimp, crab meat's a big one, salmon, kind of your staple items right now for a lot of holiday menus. We've had some bluefin in here recently, caught locally, so that was a good seller the past few weeks. But it's really your staple items. You see some caviar sales are going up with all the holiday events. But a lot of staple items right now, and then right after the new year, things will definitely drop off, and we'll get prepared for another busy summer here.
Yeah, and I'm sure it will be. We're seeing tourism, pick up, year over year in Virginia Beach. Things are growing up. We've got the HRBT expansion, which is going to open up, a couple more lanes and see folks moving back and forth throughout the region more so. So it's great to know that we got the freshest, coming to the local restaurants right out of Hampton, Virginia. So I'm curious, in your opinion, as a wholesaler, you mentioned the bluefin tuna. What in your guys' mind, what makes it such a prize or special catch? What is it about the bluefin tuna that is so desirable?
Well, I think it has name recognition. People hear bluefin and they think of a more premium tuna, and the quality of it is usually always pristine too. Chefs really love the color of it, the consistency. It's a really good tuna to work with for both cooked and uncooked applications. You can use it in sushi, more raw applications, ceviches, or you can cook it off. So a lot of different ways to use it. And then I think the local aspect of it too is big for chefs. So being able to tell a story about how it was caught right here in Virginia Beach, and supplied to restaurants throughout the Hampton Roads, Richmond, Charlottesville areas, is really cool. So I think it's the story plus the quality. There's a lot of good things going on, with the bluefin. So
Yeah. You see that all the time about, support local businesses and, the small business is kind of the backbone of America. So there is something uniquely special about, sitting down to dinner, maybe somewhere in Richmond and, looking at the menu and seeing a special and realizing that it is bluefin tuna that was caught like 2 days before, swimming live. I mean, I just was very fortunate to be aboard a Bullet One, my buddy's boat, and catch one and eat some raw tuna that day. And there's just nothing like it. I mean, it is the quality, the flavor. I don't have words to describe it. So we did see it on a couple of local restaurants. I think there was one up in Richmond. They served up some incredible dishes. You want to talk to us a little bit about like those relationships and how that bluefin tuna gets there, like from the time that the tuna comes in to the time that it's on the dinner table. Like, what's that process like?
yeah, so I mean, I got to give our sales team credit. We have some really good account managers that service our restaurant and grocery clients very well. And I think that's half the battle when it comes to seafood is having a good relationship with your fishmonger, whoever you buy seafood from. So you know exactly where it's coming from, when it was caught, the quality that you expect. When you buy from, people that may not have that relationship, I think there's a lot of question marks with the quality and the service you're going to get. So that's one thing we really prioritize here is, we are a small family owned company. And we want to stay that way. Obviously growth is important. You have to grow to survive, but our goal isn't to be the largest seafood company on the East Coast. You just want to be the best in the areas that we service. And so I think our guys do a really good job of that. We have great relationships with the chefs that we work with. And those relationships then turn into, hey, we got a local Virginia Beach bluefin. We can make a phone call, a quick text, and, right then and there, hey, let's get 20, 30 pounds on a menu. Let's do a special. So those are the types of relationships we have and that we encourage all of our, reps to have with their customers. And I think it bodes well for both the restaurant or grocery store, and us. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it creates like a high level of trust. I mean, there's many times I've been, traveling or like in a big city somewhere and you see like a tuna dish, on the menu, like specifically a raw application like you were talking about. And, for guys like us who, grew up in the seafood world and were close to fresh seafood, like there's not a very high level of trust. So you're like, can I really trust this supply chain that whatever I'm about to eat raw is really a good idea to eat raw? So like in terms of like looking at one of your local restaurants like Heritage, for example, when you see this beautiful, I don't even know what we're calling this. He called it a Virginia bluefin tuna, Asian pear cucumber, yuzu koshu, pickled ginger, pickled peppers, wasabi tobiko, seaweed salad, and cilantro. I think it's like a tuna stack or something, And if I'm seeing that on the menu and knowing that it was caught in Virginia Beach, which is, 50 miles away, my level of trust in fresh is going to be very, very high. And I got to give a shout out to that chef because this dish, along with some others he posted, just look absolutely divine.
It's Joe Sparata. We've had a great relationship with him over the years, and he does an unbelievable job with food over there at Heritage. And that's an example of a great relationship there. It's easy to work with him. You can throw some really cool things at him, and he's always open to trying new local items. And I think that's what makes a lot of Virginia restaurants great. People that source locally, and they're open to highlighting new products, things that are exciting that you might not see every day, and it really helps highlight their restaurant and show how they can differentiate themselves from others. So
Yeah, absolutely. And of course he posted that really cool picture of how you guys have to pack those tunas out, which is such a neat process. Can you tell us a little bit about that, like the purpose for it and what it looks like?
So that's the best way to keep them fully iced down. So we have our large vats that we'll take a forklift and lower the fish down into, and we leave a little bit of space at the bottom and on the side so we can fully ice around the fish to keep that meat cold. And obviously in that picture you see the tail sticking out. Those are some pretty big bluefin. So, but definitely a cool process, and that's the best way to preserve them here before they're ready to cut and sell to restaurants. So
Yeah, that was awesome. And we really enjoyed connecting the dots there with, Captain Bill and playing hooky that actually landed those fish. And then there they are in those big vats iced out at Sam Rust. And then the next day they're on the menu up at Heritage. And so it was just really cool to see that process. And you said a term earlier that that made me, kind of chuckle because it kind of sounds funny when you hear it, fishmonger. So I went to the old googly oogly machine just because I'm curious. So before I, tell you what it is, you use the term. You have any idea the context of where it comes from?
I honestly have no idea.
Okay. So it comes from apparently a Middle English word, fishamonger, and I guess the word monger comes from a Latin noun that means trader. So you're a fish trader, somebody moving
Okay.
some
All right.
things along.
That's pretty good.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. I think we've heard Uncle Bruce, say that many times. You're number one fishmonger, and now we know.
I think that's where I get the term from. I want to say it's in his email signature too. So I think
It
I,
is.
I see it on there quite a bit. Yeah.
It very much is. And then just in terms like, Sam Rust has always been a big proponent of sustainability. And in y'all's world, it's not necessarily you guys aren't fishermen per se, but you're having to sustainably source and make purchasing decisions around sustainability. So you're wanting to make sure that your downstream suppliers are operating sustainably. So, for you guys, what does it mean the role you play in sustainability? Like, how do you actively choose sustainable sources as a seafood supplier?
I mean, I think a lot of it is credit to our purchasing team. We have multiple people on that team that every day are looking at our current sources, new sources. Where can we better get product from? Where are the fish at? I mean, seafood is always a moving target. They're never in one area, so you're always having to look around and see where you can source, the best quality and get the best prices for it. So, that's a key for our purchasing team is doing that work. It's a daily grind, and day in, day out, they are always looking around for, where can we find a new cool item to put on menus or offer to our customers. So, that's, I think a big piece of it is just getting the right people in place. Because there are so many moving pieces, you have to have people that you trust in those positions to make good decisions. But overall, I mean, we have a process that we go through to onboard a vendor. We're not just going to sit there and buy from somebody we don't know. So we have to go through that vetting process. We have applications, paperwork that vendors have to fill out to ensure that everything is, good on our end before we're making purchases. So.
That's awesome. And kind of back to like what we talked about on our last episode, the importance of, faith in the business place, in God we trust is, painted on the front of the building there. There's, scriptures by the scales, there's a high level of ethics there within Sam Rust to ensure that they're internally operating with integrity and then operating ethically with all of its suppliers and then upstream to its providers. And so I think, what I know about you guys and when talking to folks that sell to you and folks that buy from you, there's just a high level of trust that you guys are doing the right things on both ends of those transactions. So I'm curious, from your perspective, earlier you were talking about, seafood is kind of a moving target. You started to sound like a fisherman there, trying to figure out where they're going to be and anticipate it. Looking into, 2025, are there going to be any new items that you're prospecting or any new cool products that might find their way onto you guys' Rolodex of offerings?
I don't have any specifically, but I know, like on the shellfish side, Bruce is always looking at new shellfish suppliers. So we are constantly onboarding new, oyster suppliers. And we have a lot of cool flavors, more so than we did a few years ago, from the Northeast region, PEI Canada. Obviously, we have a long list of local ones. We really try and support the local guys as much as we can. But we do obviously have chefs that want, out of state product as well. So we're always looking for new options there. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say there's a specific item that I can think of that's, going to be a hit next year. But that's the seafood industry. You don't really know until a lot of times the day of, and they have something cool and you want to try it. Then it might take off, it might not. But
Right.
yeah,
Or it starts trending on TikTok, and next thing you know, everyone's
yeah.
like, "You got to try the turtle soup over at wherever." But there is one interesting thing that I want to ask about because when we're out bluefin tuna fishing, especially like when those fish are near shore, like you'll hear over the radio, "Oh, I'm stretched out. I'm stretched out. Oh, we broke them off on a conch pot." And I remember my first time out there last year being like, "Conch pot? Like we fish for conchs off of Virginia waters? Like what in the world?" And so researching them a little bit, I think they're actually called channel whelks, but I noticed that you guys actually have moved several of them from the Eastern Shore, these live Virginia smooth conch. Can you tell us a little bit about these things? Like, what are they typically used for? Like who's buying them? What kind of menu options end up showing up as a result of these things?
Yeah, it's not really an item we have too often. More so something that popped up, and we thought it'd be cool for the holiday season to, throw something else out there for chefs to use. So we brought some in. Ended up, having some pretty good sales on it. Chefs were super creative. We had one chef, Ian Bowden, that made a really cool like cornbread and conch dish. So there's a few different people that got creative with that, but I'm not too familiar with that product, to be honest with you. It's something kind of new to me, but it's something it's local. They're catching them right there off the Eastern Shore. So it's definitely something cool to, promote to chefs here locally.
Yeah, I mean it's a neat looking, product. It reminds me of some things I've seen down in the Caribbean, where like they're harvesting conchs and then serving them, fresh as a ceviche. And from what I've heard, it's a really good product. I've never actually tried it personally, but that dish that you're talking about there, the conch and cornbread, it actually looks pretty delightful. So that'll have to be something that I look for next time I'm out and about, just so that we can talk about it next time. Like, okay, it tasted like XYZ. Switching gears a little bit, you talked about oysters briefly. Recently, you guys went out with Steamboat. Tell us a little bit about that experience, actually getting on the water and experiencing what it's like to be an oysterman.
Yeah, that was my first time seeing a oyster farm. So super interesting. They produce an outstanding product over there at Steamboat. We've had really good success over the past few years working with them and pushing their product into various restaurants and stores. And their operation, it's so interesting. It's just a 2, 3 person operation, but the amount of work that goes into it is really unbelievable. You don't really realize how much work goes into a single oyster making it onto a plate at a restaurant, but there's a lot of hard work, a lot of time and effort put into that throughout the growing process. There's a lot of gear that they have to buy to ensure that they have, everything growing at the proper rates and it's in a good environment. So there's a lot of steps involved that I had no idea about. But they do a great job. They have a really, really cool little facility over there, and where their grounds are is really neat. So that was a cool experience. Would definitely like to get back out there sometime soon.
Yeah, and what waterway are they located on? Do you recall?
They're on the Rappahannock,
Okay.
kind of near like Whitestone area.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just to get located on that. So let's see here. Whitestone. So I know with oysters, like it has a lot to do with like the local environment. So what would be one thing that you recall from that experience that was like maybe like was there any unique features about like where they chose to, grow their oysters? Were they looking for something? Did they talk about what they were specifically looking for to plant their beds there?
Not specifically. I mean, that would probably be a good question for them.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure on that, to be honest with you. I don't know about that one.
Well, it looks
Sorry,
like
Luke.
no, you're fine. This is kind of good to kind of just figure it out for ourselves. I know that there's like a lot to do with like the salinity. So like the Rappahannock, for those that are listening, feeds directly into like the northern part of the Chesapeake Bay, a little northwest of Cape Charles. And obviously there's a ton of oystering that happens on the eastern shore too. So I think the big key there is that you've got the Rappahannock, which is right next to the Chesapeake Bay that has that huge tidal influx every day. And so as opposed to maybe like some areas in like the Gulf or Texas where the flow in and out is not as great, you've got a big change in salinity every single day. And the other thing I noticed about your pictures from that trip was they're so consistent in terms of like what the individual shell looks like. Did they explain at all how they're able to achieve that level of consistency?
Well, it's probably starts with the seed that they get. There's a lot of different types of seed that you can get to start your operation out. So I think they buy a really good quality seed, and then I think of it a lot of it is just how they're maintaining
Hmm.
their product. They're going out every week and rotating things, flipping cages and putting in the work to ensure that they're rotated properly. Again, I'm not an oyster expert, so I don't really know all the ins and outs of it, but that's the best answer I got for you on that.
No, that makes sense. I see the cages. So they float right on the surface there?
Are floating cages, yeah.
Okay. I forget the guy's name. I think his name is Dan the Oyster Man. And I remember asking him, I guess there's kind of two different ways that they will farm. Some sit on the bottom and some are floating cages. And I remember him saying something to the effect of the floating cages create that little bit harder shell and a little bit more consistent shape and cup because they're kind of tumbling on a regular basis as opposed to just sitting on the bottom. So two different farming techniques, two different flavor profiles, but just need to learn that there's really kind of like a science behind, it's not just go throw the seed in the ocean and wait for it to grow into an oyster. They're out there, like you said, every day tweaking and looking at the data, looking at the result, and figuring out how to make this kind of ideal oyster. Did you guys get to try some fresh when you were out there?
You did, yeah. Yeah, they shucked some right on the boat there, so we got to try them right out of the water, which is really cool. It's a really great tasting oyster, not too salty, but it's just nice, perfect amount of brine for an oyster that you need.
Yeah, is that like your ideal oyster? Because you've I'm sure tried a bunch of them. Like when you think of your ideal oyster to eat raw, like describe the flavor profile to me. Like what are you looking for in that really good raw oyster experience?
Yeah, so actually on our oyster sheet, we have like a breakdown on it of like salinity ranges, the buttery creaminess of it, and the sweetness.
Hmm.
So I'd say I'm probably like a 7 out of 10 on the salinity range. There's some really salty ones that you can get from the Eastern Shore. I think I'm more of kind of that 7 to 10 range, which is kind of like that lower bay area.
Hmm.
And then, I would say kind of that buttery sweetness right in the middle.
Yeah.
So nothing too salty, but I don't like it where it doesn't have really any brine at all.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I'd have
yeah.
to disagree with Jim Gaffigan, the comedian. He was in Norfolk one time, and he was like, "I don't know what it is with you people with this obsession with snot in a rock." And I'm like, "Jim, just get out of here. If you don't understand it, we don't need to explain it to you. It's the pearls of the ocean. They're so good. I can think of several times that I've sat around and put 30 plus, to bed very quickly because when you get that good salty, that buttery smooth on the front with that little salty finish, it's hard to beat that. So, just kind of in wrapping up, I'm curious, how does like a local seafood supplier compare to these like more national types of suppliers when it comes to, options and availability as well as pricing and relationship? What are some of those key differentiators that we can expect from working with somebody local versus one of these larger providers?
Yeah, I think the main thing is just, we're closer to the fish that the customers are getting. So, a lot of our reps, we're seeing this fish daily. We're all in the same little area here in Virginia, North Carolina. So, we have a really good idea on what's coming in, when it's coming in, where it's coming from. And we can convey that information to our, partners, chefs, grocery chains very easily. So, I think there's a lot of advantages to that. We're just much closer to the source, I think, as far as, our reps know and can explain that to our customers very well.
Hmm.
And, we've been here for, gosh, what are we going on 90 years now? Something like that in
Yeah,
this,
and you still look
Virginia
great.
area.
You still look great for now.
Not me, but Sam Rust. And so we have very deep rooted relationships around the Virginia, North Carolina area. And I think that bodes well for our sourcing and, getting good quality product in for our customers. Because at the end of the day, that's the key. I mean, the price is important, but at some point you don't sacrifice quality for price. So
Yeah.
we would never do that. That's something that we really abide by, is making sure that no matter what, we're going to make sure the quality is top notch for the people that we work with.
Yeah, and I mean it's right here in your backyard. You are going to go patron these restaurants that you're supplying. You want to make sure that you're having a good experience there. And again, it's like the whole purpose of dining is to typically it's either, romantic or making memories with families. It's about the experience. And so being able to trust in great local seafood products to support those experiences is really the key. So Robbie, thank you so much for being with us today and just talking to us a little bit about, what goes on behind the scenes at a seafood wholesaler. It's really great to have this conversation with you.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on, Luke.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, Happy New Year's, you guys. We'll be with you soon. Be safe out there. Whatever you do it responsibly, and we'll be with you soon. Tight lines, y'all. Did you know every 40 seconds, someone has a heart attack or stroke? In that moment, every second counts and every critical decision matters. Air Medcare Network's air ambulance providers can provide life-saving care directly to those in need at a moment's notice. With 320 locations across 38 states, they're the largest air ambulance membership network. Rest assured, they've got you and your entire household covered. Membership is just $99 a year or just $79 for seniors. Visit gdo.deals/airmedcare to enroll. Pure flat slick lures are tried, true, and guide approved. Slick lures catch big speckled trout, redfish, flounder, and more. You can cast them a mile, and they produce a highly erratic bait fish imitation with a twitching retrieve. The tournament-winning slick has helped many anglers set personal best records. Whether you're fishing the OG slick, the smaller profile slick junior, or the versatile lil slick, one is sure to find that unforgettable thump we're all after. Visit your local tackle retailer or pureflats.com for your favorite color and rigging combination. Go sling some slicks today. You can't catch them on the sofa. Tired of battling salt corrosion on your boat, trailer, and reels? Meet Salt's Gone, your ultimate solution. This powerful, instantly acting chelating agent tackles salt and brine with ease, featuring corrosion inhibitors to protect against future damage and surfactants for a thorough clean. Salt's Gone is pH neutral, making it safe for all boat materials: metal, glass, paint, vinyl wraps, and more. Highly concentrated, just 1 gallon creates 100 gallons of ready-to-use solution. Apply it with or without running water. It's perfect for any situation. Use code GREATDAYS10 to save 10% at saltsgone.com. Or if you need faster delivery, use Amazon or your favorite retailer. All right, guys. Well, welcome to the final What Did You Learn of 2024. Just taking a moment to reflect on, this journey since we started, back in May, talking to local charter guides about what's going on offshore, nearshore, and inshore, and bringing you guys a report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. I just want to take a moment and say thank you. Thank you to our charter guides. Thank you to all the folks that have contributed. Thank you to our sponsors, each and every single one of them. None of this would be possible without the contributors and the sponsors. It's truly just been an honor and a privilege to bring these reports to you guys each and every week. And for myself, and I hope for you guys, through this journey and through these conversations, I've learned so much about what makes fishing special, what makes the experience special, how to become better at it, where to look for to learn things, and more importantly, just the incredible rich history and the rich community that we have here in the local Lower Chesapeake Bay fishing area. So many guys that we've had the pleasure of meeting on the show, and you get to know them, and they're just salt of the earth, and they're just really in love with what they do and passionate about what they do. And so, again, I just want to say thank you. I'm absolutely honored to be a part of this and capturing each of these stories. It's cool to go out there, and every time you leave a dock or you go to a pier or you go to a beach to fish, something cool can happen. Something wild could be experienced. And so just having the opportunity to capture these stories in real time while they're fresh on everyone's brain and be able to share them with you guys has just been such an incredible privilege. I'm excited to see what happens in 2025. I think that as we continue to grow this community together, like our good friend Brady and Connie over at Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle, just all about, teaching young kids and bringing the community together and just enjoying this sort of like country club-esque type of community that is our local fishing community. So let's just continue to encourage each other, get better together, be extremely mindful of our sustainable fishing practices. I go back to some of the conversations that I've had with Chris Ludford, with Susanna Music, with the Virginia Game Fish Tagging Program. Many of our captains, Captain Jack, Captain Travis, Captain Bill, Captain Austin Hain, so many that come to mind, Captain Eric Myers, Captain CL, that are all part of sustainable fishing practices that are, releasing trout over 20. We're going to start releasing cobia over 50 inches. The goal there is to enjoy the fishery and then be incredibly respectful of it at the same time so that we can continue to enjoy it for generations to come and make it even better than we found it. So guys, with that, I wish you a very happy New Year's Eve. Thank you for tuning in. I look forward to bringing more shows to you as the year continues and, well, into next year continues. So with that, bid you guys adieu. Hope you guys are safe and look forward to bringing some reports to you real soon. Hooked on fishing? Then you're part of the local community that Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle cares about serving and giving back to, providing you with the right selection for each season's target species. They're your one-stop shop to gear up with the best bait, tackle, and insider tips to catch your next trophy fish. You can fuel up right out front on the water and then chat with the crew inside for hot tips on where they're biting. So swing by today. Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle, where your fishing adventures start and finish with your trophy catch on their scales. That's going to wrap it up this week. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, to get your free AFTCO Camo Sunglasses Cleaning Cloth, just text the acronym LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to to get your promo code and be added to our email list so we can send you the new show each week. You guys keep whacking them and be safe out there.